Conscious Being, Conscious Living. This is your host, Pandit, and today we're exploring what's beyond consistency and what's right about you. So this topic actually came up this week in one of the programs that I'm a part of, where my facilitator shared about this thing she read in a book called, I think the book was called Doing Nothing or something like that. I think the book is called Doing Nothing. And basically the whole, there's this entire idea there talking about how elements like consistency are like a modern day, these are like what modern day values: consistency, hard work, hustle, and all that. And nothing in nature operates like that. That's not elements that are of value in the nature. They're actually non-existent. Consistency and hustle and hard work, they're non-existent energies in the universe. Yes, there are things that occur on a regular basis, but the energy behind the word consistency is so different than like the sun rising from east every morning. That's kind of like, that's just how what is. That's a part of being and receiving and living on planet. But so this entire thing that I really wanted to share here, and I have a sense that today it's likely going to be a shorter one. So it's this idea that, you know, how much consistency, especially in this day and age of social media, has been given so much importance, and not to undermine that if you show up in certain ways, it does create something. But what I invite you to look at today is how much we have started giving value to things that may or may not be truly valuable to us. And so that's how I was exploring when this entire conversation around consistency came up in my call this week, was that first, let me introduce you to the entire idea. Like, I have this entire ADD download of information that I just want to zip up, open your, awareness and just put it in. But anyway, I'm going to go a little bit slow, so bear with me. So there's this idea when the Industrial Revolution came in, like about 250 years ago, there came a point where elements like hard work and consistency and hustle were something that were made really big and really valuable. However, before that, what really occurred was, and how this in fact even came about was, how did people create? How did humans create before this entire Industrial Revolution came in? The way that we created was a lot more in communion with the rhythm of the nature, a lot more in communion with ourselves, with the earth, with what we're creating. And so there would be these artists and craftsmen and these beautiful creators who create something out of nothing. And they've let the creativity flow through them. And there wasn't a consistency. The concept of consistency didn't really exist in the way that it does today. And there was a lot more flow in the way that people created. There was a lot more ease, a lot more communion, a lot more presence. And essentially also how, if you look at how farming is done and how any craftsman creates its own art or creativity. So you could actually equate that with anything you're creating in your life. If you're creating your business, you're the artist, and your business is whatever art that you're creating. Or, even if you're just creating your life in whatever way, you're the artist and your life is your creation. You get to create it the way you would like. But when we bring up these elements like consistency and stuff, they diminish the energy of creativity. At least that's how it is for me when I look at it. And I actually invite you to look at that for yourself. When you force yourself into something, or try to order yourself into something or creation of something, does it support your creativity and your creative process, or does it diminish it? And what if that's not wrong? What if you're not wrong just because You cannot be consistent if your life depended on it, or consistency doesn't really resonate for you in the same way as they teach a lot of times in the marketing world, for example, and things like that. What is your natural rhythm? What is your way of creating? So going back to the whole industrial revolution and the whole perspective on how the valuable product changed from being present and in the flow and creating with the rhythm of nature and creating in communion with yourself, with the earth, with people around you, with your creation, into consistency and hustle and hard work and rules and methods and formulas and all of that. How did that even occur? It actually started that when the industrial revolution came in, and this is a point of view that comes from that book Doing Nothing, which is not essentially about doing nothing, but it's more about cultivating the space you require that allows you to be more, that allows you to create more. Hi, Loretta. We have this beautiful, beautiful Loretta here. We were just talking about how an artist creates an art, and Loretta is this amazing artist. She's more than an artist, I would say an artisan, a craftsman who creates these beautiful sculptures out of nothing. And so we were just talking about how consistency and this entire idea of hustle and hard work diminishes or kind of is different from what you actually might be more true for you, which is flow and creativity and, the way you're being in communion with your creation and the rhythm of life. And so back in the days, everybody would create like that. There were these rhythms and cycles, just the way there is rhythms and cycle in the nature. So there would be like this burst of creativity and the burst of action and a burst of, possibilities and play, and then these periods of rest. Bursts of creativity and then periods of rest. And notice how a lot of what we hear about in today's world around being consistent or around hustle mindset and the glorification of all that is literally just the opposite of it. And so I'm just going to speak to this from the place of what this has been for me, because I really bought into that for a lot of time, and a long time actually in my business as well, wherein I'm like, okay, we've got to do this like this, and all of the rules and the structures and the formulas that they teach, and not to say they don't work. Again, it's more about finding what's going to be a part of your rhythm and being present so that you know when your rhythm changes and you know what's required with that, and you support yourself in ways that allow you to thrive more. Oh, that's so beautiful. Loretta says, yes, and when you say that, like you just did, it feels so relaxing, isn't it? What if hustle is actually just a misidentification and misrepresentation and a diminishment of that natural capacity you have as a being to create, that has no energy of hustling, but a lot of creativity and a lot of generation, that energy of generation and creativity. And, what if that is what has been now diminished and called hustling? I mean, is hustling even your reality? Is consistency your reality? Or is it something else? And again, not to say, it's not about encouraging you or someone to be lazy about things. It's not about that. It's more about just acknowledging what's really true for you. If you're hearing something and it gets heavy, or if you're trying to do something and it's not really moving in the way that it could move for you, no matter how many people say it's working for them, would you be willing to stop in that moment? And instead of judging yourself and diminishing your own creative capacities and creative space, and instead of giving up on you, just got even more aggressively present with, all right, wait, this is heavy. So there's something about this that's not true for me. So I wonder what is true for me. And this whole idea about, how that way of being was the natural way of being in the world, until the Industrial Revolution came in. And so there came these people who were like, okay, so how do we get these people who are creative, like so free flowing, and like they have no sense of foundations, but are so consumed in their creativity and they create from there? How do we tap into the brilliance of their skill in a way that we can get them to produce this and this and this and this and this, which might be like a cookie cutter thing, and get them to work like 8 to 6 hours, not 8 to 6, like 8 to 12 hours in a day to work on similar kind of things rather than, their natural way of being and creating in the world? How do we get to that? And so what occurred in that entire period that is that whereas presence and flow and creativity and your natural rhythm were the valuable product, most of the existence of humanity, what they did was they kind of made elements like hard work and consistency and push and hustle, like created these like literally invented these cookie cutter kind of ways of being, and started making them more valuable, started inventing them as the real valuable things, so that they can then get these beautiful people who are so in the flow and are practically out of control, not controllable with their creations, unpredictable. How do we make that into this predictable thing that we can then profit off of? Now, again, to say here, neither am I implying that making money off what you create is wrong or profiting is wrong. All of that is beautiful. But what I am encouraging you to look at is that anywhere that the modern age values might not be working for you and you've been judging yourself for it, anywhere that everything that's been made valuable and the right way to do things and all the answers, and if you're not doing this right, you're really missing out kind of energy that is there in the world, this day and age of social media especially, anywhere you might have bought into that, judged yourself in context to that, or been looking at how can you change something about you so that you can do something right, because if that is the right way to be, you're obviously wrong, because you're all about flow and creativity. That's your jam. So how can you kind of like get stuck in this entire trap of judgment. So how do y'all create that? My invitation to you over here is to just really be with this awareness. Look at how these modern day values like hustle and consistency, where did they come from? What's the purpose of it? Are they real to you? Are they relevant to you? Do they expand your world, or do they contract your space? And anywhere they contract your space, instead of immediately going into the wrongness of you, what if you started asking, what's right about me? And started finding, because that's it, just the way they invented the value of hard work and hustle and consistency. What if instead of giving that energy, you gave more energy to that which is more true for you, and cultivated trust in you to find your way to be with everything that's available today in a way that works for you? And Loretta says, yes, I've stopped judging myself for not having set consistent hours of work. Exactly. For example, today I've not yet made it to the studio, but I will get there. Exactly. What if that is the level of trust you could function from, and let go of all these ideas and inventions that have been made so real, so significant, and they are inventions actually. So my question to you, hi Bharat. Bharat says, not real, not relevant, all the hustle of hard work. Exactly. So what is real for you, and what is relevant to you, and what is it that you value, that if you were to be more with that, would allow you to have total ease and the joy and the exuberance of being? So that's my invitation for you today. Stop making yourself wrong for things that are not real, not relevant for you. And even before that, recognize that there are things in the world that may not be real and relevant to you. And then, so what is? Start on this journey of exploration. And I also wanted to actually briefly, my laptop now is frozen. It cannot apparently see my face. Oh, okay. Now it's read my face and it's opened up the page I wanted to pull out. What I wanted to invite you to is for a really long time. Hey, Maruna. Oh my God, my favorite people here. Eva Fairy, thank you. I have a very interesting story around the word fairy, maybe for the next show. But today, at the end of this entire episode, and as a part of this invitation, if you've been watching this and being here with me for a while, you know that I've been really ruminating of this idea. I already have a group called Cultivating Trust in You that has 0 members because it's just a group that's created, but it's now really speaking loud, and it's been a space wherein I wanted to, play with using the tools of access consciousness in our everyday life, like really cultivating trust that you're not wrong. There is something that's right about you. And so I will be posting about that group today or tomorrow, because I'm going to be starting it with this masterclass on being the valuable product, including you in your life and creations. And with that, we just give the group a go and then include more challenges and play and see how we can include more of that which is true for us, the energy of creativity and the energy of flow and rhythm that's congruent with the nature and in communion with the nature and in communion with the beings and in communion with what we're creating, and have more of that energy in our life. So that's what it's going to be about. More details coming soon. But since you're here, I wanted to share with you guys, and I'm so grateful for you. I cannot wait to, have more interactions in the group and play with you there. Details coming soon. In the meantime, see you next week on another conscious being, conscious living exploration. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Mwah. Bye.